you talk a bit about why interest rate spikes have so much influence on lender appraisal volume for refinancing and sale transactions?
Yeah, so as appraisers, we think that banks sit there and they look at the average of the last comps per square foot per unit and the average cap rate and that fourth approach to value, which has never been validated, and I hate, which is called the averaging technique. And we forget skill sets that when we're in transition, we need to look a little more forward. So let's talk about our old band of investment friend. And if you look at what's happened from a 10-year treasury going, from a low 3 and 7 interest rate hikes, and we really should be at about a 5% 10-year treasury. And I think we will be there by January. And do your old band of investment and look at when banks were lending at 70% loan to value and more aggressive LTV, and their interest only coverage, was say a 6.5 to a 7. Fast forward the last 6 to 12 months and do that same band of investment. You could justify a 4.5 to 5 cap rate 12 months ago. You can't justify anything under 7.5% today. That's what's ahead of us. Do the clients understand it? And do as appraisers, do we have the courage and understand those skills to explain to our client that what's coming over the next 12 months is probably a 25 to 40% correction in value from the change in the cost of the capital stack. And so what I see is, the lenders just pulling way back. We're going to see different sources of capital. I was just on a call with United Arab Emirates where they don't want any debt. They want any U.S. debt bank involved. They want all equity. They'll close in 30 days. They know the markets and the property type they want. Boom. Same with South Korea, Vietnam, even companies that are finding they can't get their supply chain, their factories and their warehouses financed. They're willing to pull back now on stock repurchases and put capital into owning their own buildings and being basically the construction lender to the merchant developer. So what is the underwriting for that type of entity? Have we really discovered it? So I've got 5 new clients. They're all international that have all redefined all of those issues. And they're looking very much at the band of investment. And then they test it with the principal substitution. They want these foreign investors that are investing cash. They want a replacement cost analysis because they understand with inflation, that same asset's going to cost 10 to 20% more to build next year or to replace. So they're a little more comfortable saying, I'll buy a little more aggressive on cap rate today, knowing it should be higher, but I'm going to grow into that cap rate because the cost to replace it's going up. And with inflation, the rents will go up and I'll have a more normalized 7 or 8 cap rate in 24 months. So those are all the skills we were taught growing up. I mean, I go back to them in all my legacy father and grandfather's books and read that stuff all the time. But we kind of got to go back to those old skills. And I would dust off that replacement cost skill set, go take the Marshall valuation certification course to know actually how to do it. Because if not, and we're against each other in court, I'm mopping you up off the floor.
Yeah, and I'll say this, from an investor standpoint, I'm excited. I mean, I'm really excited. The market conditions are set up, like we talked about, the real estate market, it cycles, right? It cycles up, it cycles down, it cycles up, it cycles. It just is a constant cycle. And you talk about, what happened in 08 and 09, and during that period of time, if you could have bought, say, $50 million of residential real estate back in 2010, I probably wouldn't be on your podcast right now. I'd probably be sitting on a beach right now, sipping a nice cocktail. But I think that there's going to be, no, I don't even think there's going to be a lot of opportunity. Whenever you get into these types of market downturns in the market, it creates opportunities. So the great thing, like Casey is saying, is like these people, when they're doing their modeling based on current economics, right? They might have a little bit of down. They might say, well, I'm going to play it a little bit down and know I'm going to get some upside. But for the most part, what a better time to be operating when you're an investor, to be able to really look at not things when we're paying these 4 caps and these, 4.5, 5, whatever the cap rate might be, depending on the asset type. But we've got really good opportunities right now. Like we're buying a lot of short-term vacation rental properties. And for a long time, I can't even tell you how glad I am that I wasn't buying that asset type 3 months ago, 4 months ago, right? I mean, it has teed itself up. The markets have teed themselves up for opportunities. So at the same time, and I tell this to appraisers too, who better to be in the investment portion of what we do also than appraisers who understand valuation, who can go in and look at the current market conditions and then figure out what the upside potential is going to be, or think back to that last economic cycle and say, boy, yeah, I missed out on that last economic cycle, but I'm not going to miss out on this one. A lot of appraisers, they'll tell me, they'll go, I'm not an investor. I'm an appraiser. I'm not an investor. I'm an appraiser. but who better to invest than appraisers? I mean, we get it. We get the markets. We understand value. We understand what pushes values up. We understand what pushes values down. We understand the cycles. When an appraiser tells me that they're not an investor, I go, man, use that education, use that knowledge, go out there and capitalize when you get an opportunity like this. Yeah, down markets are tough on some people. They just are. But the good thing is there are people out there. If you're a savvy investor, there are opportunities for those folks out there right now. And they're going to just continue to get better. I tell everybody, next month's going to be a little better. The month after that's going to be a little better. The next month, we're not on an upswing by any means. We're definitely on a downswing.
Let me add two things to Rodman that I'm sure he does a lot. So as appraisers, we need to be better at reading, not just proofing our reports and getting them out faster and quicker, but reading other industry data. So let me give you two tips. I read the earnings reports on every company that affects my market or my clients or tenants in my buildings, because under the penalty of perjury of the SEC, they have to tell you the next 6 months what the plan is. So they're telling you how many stores they're going to close. They're telling you that Walmart and Home Depot and Lowe's aren't building garden centers anymore. Those are becoming where they do e-commerce fulfillment because they already do all the lawn chairs and that stuff on e-commerce. So it tells me about what's functionally obsolete in those big box buildings. So I really read the earnings. So look at the earnings of the companies, the public companies in your market, your buildings, and your tenants. The second thing is look at things like Urban Land Institute just came out with their annual 2023 Emerging Trends Report. I was involved with the first one at Echo Real Estate over a quarter century ago. It's one of their best reports. And they said two things. They said, number one, buyers and sellers can't agree on price today. Sellers still think their properties are valued at 4 cap rates, and buyers are saying, no, try 6, 7, or 8. So there's a big disconnect, which is going to affect transactions. And they go through each property type and tell you incredible things. So really become a voracious reader. Look at earnings reports and look at things like, Urban Land Institute reports, or if IREM's got a report, look at our peer industries and things that they publish, because they really can give you that extra edge or insight that, as Robin points out, will either help you invest or help you better understand how to appraise that property.
So read the tea leaves is what you're saying, Casey.
Yeah.